All right, we're going to call the meeting to order, community service, and we're going to get started. Maria's going to take the roll call.
Commissioner Avila,
Present.
Commissioner Butler,
Present.
Commissioner Cornejo Ayers,
Present.
Commissioner Enriquez,
Present.
Commissioner Ojeda, Commissioner Teller.
Present.
We do have Commissioner Martin out today, so I have marked her absence.
Okay, reports and communications. I don't think we have any. Commissioner announcements. Do any of you have any announcements about something that's going on in the community? No one? Okay. Then we're going to go to citizens to be heard. I don't know if we have any citizens to be heard today. No?
There are no public comments online, and we don't have any comments here in person.
Okay. All right. So next up, Maria is going to do the recognitions presentation and community events.
We don't have any items for this section today, so we'll bring it back to you, Chair.
Okay. So we'd like to approve the minutes of the regular Community Services Commission meeting in October. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve those minutes?
I make a motion to approve.
Second? Does anyone second that?
I second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Minutes approved. And Community Services Department overview. Maria or Andrea?
Thank you, Chair. Andrea Dwyer, Community Services Director. So tonight, on our agenda, what we have for you is our department overview. So part of this process is just to describe what we have going on. So currently, the City of Pinole is in our budget season. So we want to make sure to communicate this is the time that departments are preparing presentations to go to the Finance Subcommittee. Those meetings are scheduled monthly for right now. And each department will be presenting their overall budget. They are great meetings to listen to. They are available in person in the council chambers as well as online. During those presentations and conversations, you will hear specifically from departments as to why we have developed the budgets we have developed, and then we do meet with our subcommittee, which then goes to City Council. So I want to make sure that the commission hears about that. And then also, what we also have during this time is our CIPs. So capital improvement projects are the projects that take not just a year, they don't take just a month, right? They could take up to 5 years. So a lot of the time you'll see a 3 to 5 year CIP plan is what it's called. And those projects are funded in different capacities, different ways. So currently we have things like our swim center renovation happening. So there's a lot of work being done to our Pinole Swim Center. That is through a CIP, a capital improvement project. What we're doing there is increasing efficiency, is making sure that it is in the condition we need to. It is a 20 to 25 year dilapidated facility, which means we haven't done substantial updates to that location within about 20 years. And those are things like changing our sand out of our sand filters, replacing our boilers, making sure that it's heat efficient so that way we're not wasting water to heat the pool because that is a cost. So we're really just making sure that these projects that get developed are things like looking at our parks, looking at our public facilities, our senior center, our youth center. We're looking and making sure for us specifically for community services, we're looking to see what can we look to put on one of these projects that the community needs to have updated that we have money for. And that is a slim list, but it is one that we are preparing for future years. A lot of the time, it's also really nice to have these listed so that way we can apply for grants. So if there is a park grant that's available for potentially a new park structure, a lot of the time there's grants that are out there that will call for matching funds. And so if we're able to apply it into our capital improvement plan, then we also could apply for potentially matching grant funds and then use those to better suit our replacements of park furniture or amenities of that sort. So please keep a lookout. We will also send that out when those are finalized. They are derived and from our public works department. So we work in support with them to do that. So we collaborate on what those look like. We take tours, we go to our facilities. Recently this year, we've spent a lot of dollars and time in leaky roofs. So our roofs at our centers have been 20 to 25 years old. So our public safety building is getting their roof done. Our senior center has had their roof done and redone because we had a lot of leaks in them. So you may have heard that from people who attend the senior center or around, but those are something that we had to really allocate those funding for so we could better suit that facility. So I just want to make sure that the commission knows this is something that we also want to hear from the commission. So if there are areas, Chair Ojeda brought up this evening, a site that at one of our park locations to really make sure to go and take a look at things that we may not see that are either broken, dilapidated, or maybe could just use some extra eyes on, we're more than happy to do that. So we're currently looking at those projects. So if the commission does have ideas, suggestions, conversations, if you have conversations of questions we can ask now, or if you have suggestions, please feel free to email myself or Maria, and we will gladly entertain that conversation with you.
Thank you, Andrea.
Sorry, one more thing, Chair. I so apologize. One more thing is that we want to just inform everybody is our community services department has one director, one manager, and 4 coordinators. Those 4 coordinators oversee various aspects of our department. So we have things like our senior center, tiny tots, contract classes, youth programs, senior services, special events. So we have, and our Pinole Swim Center, of course. So with those different areas, those 4 coordinators have officially been hired. So we are officially fully staffed at our full-time level. If you do know of somebody looking for part-time opportunities, we are hiring for rental facility custodians, recreation leaders, and aides. So please make sure to visit our website online at pinole.gov, or if they have questions, they can also email us as well. So we are hiring now for the summer, which does sound a little early, but it's right on time. We will open for summer camps next week. We will start registration. I see some surprise. Yes, so we start as early as March is what it will be, as do many agencies around us. And so the importance of that is making sure that when you're booking your summer plans, you see Pinole as an option. So you will see our Tiny Tot summer camps as well as our youth center summer camps start going open for registration. And then shortly to follow will be our swim lessons and services and swim team registrations with the Pinole Seals. So we are going to be entering into our spring and summer programming very shortly. So if there are additional questions, feel free to just let us know. Thank you.
I was just going to say on the hiring front, is that aimed towards teens or adults?
Both. Both.
What's the minimum age?
So 16 is our minimum, and so that can serve in different areas. That could be as a recreation aid, which helps us for Tiny Tots or our summer camp programming, spring camp, which is really nice because we even do like after, we do Zumba, for example, offered at our senior center after school. So we do have some high school students that were able to apply and work for us after school, which has been great to teach those skills needed. So, and then adults as well. We do have adults that work for us as well doing the same programs. They're also able to do our rental custodians that help us on the weekends and after hours as well.
So thank you for that. And apologies for any ignorance as I'm walking through different questions because this is my first in-person meeting and not on Zoom. And so I appreciate, thank you. I appreciate the overview that you provided. I'm wondering about a few different things, both in terms of the things that you had mentioned and the things that were not mentioned. And I'm wondering again about like, how do we, I'm going to be very mindful, but if there's things that you're like, that's actually not this department, please let me know. One of the things as I was thinking about community service commission was looking at something like, I know that the is around like public information and being able to push out information both to the public and then solicit feedback around certain things that are happening, whether that's within any of our like programming or those or some of the larger services that we're offering. For example, and I subscribe to the Pulse. I think everyone should subscribe to the Pulse, which gives you Pinole news. But things like the library is shutting down for a year at a certain point in 2026. So at what point is that information being conveyed? Is that something that this commission will be able to not necessarily handle, because I know that it won't, but we'll be able to give out information to Pinole residents around what are things that we can do as alternatives and be able to build, because I would want to be able to build that in terms of intercity communication or like support. And I also know that there's another hiring, which I was trying to look up on my phone and I couldn't exactly find, that Pinole residents are being asked to participate in, and part of our larger hiring process. I hate to say this because we're officially on television, but like I can look it up and figure out the exact date, but like how do we support within our role as public service, greater participation in day-to-day things like that. So there's that piece, some of which I think will be held in this. And then in terms of the direct things that you mentioned, when we're thinking about summer camps, as a parent that has had two kids that have gone through our summer programming, what, if any, space is available to recommend particular activities or to represent types of organizations to be able to partner with specific age ranges? Because I've gone through that as a process, and would love to see, like, do we have a survey out for parents or for young people that have gone through these programs, and like how can we tighten it up and make it better, or like what are the things that really, really work and we want to really lean into? So I'm largely now asking at a bigger level, like what has that been as a survey process? How are we incorporating community feedback for the programs that we are offering, and how can we continue to do that in the future? Or if that boat has sailed for this year, which is fair, because I work in education, so I know that you need a long time frame to be able to plan things out. Maybe that's something that we can look into for next year.
Thank you. I'm going to selfishly plug our rec and roll because it wasn't mentioned. So specific to recreation, the Pulse is, just so everybody knows, it is a electronic piece of it. It's an email that goes out to those that sign up for it. So all residents can sign up. Even if you don't live in Pinole, you can still subscribe to it. And it's information at a citywide level. So it'll tell you things about our public works department. It'll tell you things about community services, the police department. It is managed for all departments. Rec and roll is specific to recreation community services. So that is also a subscribed newsletter that is done electronically via email that people can subscribe to, but it only is specific to recreation. And through recreation, there is a lot of information surrounding things that what we do. So for example, if lifeguards are being hired, if camps are being opened up, if we have events coming up, that information is strictly within the rec and roll as well as the Pulse. So we also duplicate information and we share it in the Pulse, but the Pulse is covering a lot more of citywide updates, including the library. So the library was in the last edition of the Pulse, and it will be in future ones as well. And just so everybody knows, the Pinole Library will be closed starting March of 2026 through the tentative date of January of 2027. They are not going to be able to offer an alternative location because of how closely they feel other libraries are. So Contra Costa Library has stated Hercules is just down the road, or you can go to the El Sobrani. There's the San Pablo Library, so there are other close jurisdictions that they felt like was enough rather than doing an alternative site, which we did ask about. So those were great questions. So that's where you would find that information. On top of that, we do have communication plans. So we have a communications department which oversees citywide marketing through our communications plan. Department. They are the team that will do the Pulse. They also do marketing material as it relates to citywide. So you'll see mailers sometimes. Community services does all things community services. So if you see the marketplace, which we do pay money to be in the marketplace, on months where we have things coming. So for example, come summer, you'll see come May of this year, in a couple months, you'll see like an ad in there for summer, right? So we also do around the holidays, you'll see some pages in there. So those are great because they go to all of West Contra Costa County, which is great. And so our marketing is not a one size fits all. It really depends on what it is. For example, our egg hunt is one of our really, really popular events. We don't have to do much marketing for that event because it's so well attended. So because of that, you'll see our banners out in those streets. You'll see 4x8 banners all around Pinole. You'll see them at the parks. You'll see them on Community Corner. But then maybe, but you won't see like lawn signs for that event because it's already a really popular event. We can't, we want to make sure to how many people, so we almost limit our marketing for those. But then when you look for our Glow Pinole, for example, we want that reach to be so big that we go everywhere we can, lawn signs, banners, social media, so we do a really big push everywhere. So it is event specific, but if there are areas that because the library is managed by the county, the city didn't do too much communication because it wasn't our program, but we did put it in the Pulse. Also regarding participation and surveying. So we do surveys. For example, there's a survey now where we are asking people about what kind of music they want to hear for music in the park and concerts in the park. We are also asking what kind of movies are popular that they would like to see. So we do submit community surveys to the public because we need their feedback. We want to see what they want to watch, right? We've done that for the past couple of years just to really gauge how the community, what they would like to see. And it's also really nice to say, you requested, we answered, and we're doing this for the community. This isn't something, I love country music, but I'm not going to fill the park with country music. I'm going to really fill it with what Pinole residents would like. Cherry Ojeda would love it. So we're more than happy for that. And then partners. So to speak frankly, as soon as we have an interest of somebody who would offer a class, we're ready. So our department is actively seeking instructors, volunteers, partners who would be interested in offering. So our youth center, for example, we have space available at our youth center to offer classes and programs. At our Tiny Tots site, we have space at our senior center. So we do market for instructors, as we call them, and that can be done in different ways, whatever that instructor would like to do or what they bring forward. So some people at our senior center specifically will offer free classes to the seniors. And so we are happy to partner with them and then produce this class. Other people say, well, it's going to cost me money to do this, so we need to do a percentage split of some sort. We're more than happy to entertain that conversation. There is no time needed, so I won't say that's going to take 3 months or 4 months. As soon as that conversation has started, we get rolling and we get into that conversation. But any type of person that would be interested in partnering to offer a service to the community, we're in. We are in, we're showing up, and we're having that conversation. And we're still developing things for summer camp. It's not fully developed. We have the space, we have the time, we want to offer it. So please encourage your partners, your volunteers, even people who would like to make money, they could do so by offering a recreation class. We just got started with a new Zumba class at our senior center that's been so popular. So any type of excitement that somebody has for that, send them our way, and we'll be more than happy to start conversations. Did I answer? Is there any other questions I should say?
No questions, just a couple of very quick follow-ups for time. But one is, in terms of communication, it would be super helpful to know what are the places that y'all have already started to outreach to, so that when we're, as commissioner members, are outreaching to our communities with like our specific skill set, we're like, oh, here's the things that are already happening. I don't want to duplicate this as an effort. I want to be able to like expand on the effort that's there. I have always dreamed of getting a Glow Pinole sign, but our house has not been fancy enough as one way to be able to outreach, but like in thinking about other ways that are possible, that's necessary. In terms of the surveys, I do want to offer that, like, again, as a parent that has had kids that have gone through the program, it would be helpful to have a very specific parent survey and even a young person survey that can ideally go out to like elementary school or middle school in terms of like youth interest specifically on things that they would like to see. And I'm very, very open to giving time and energy to be able to create that. It's something I feel very comfortable with that can go out so that we're creating programming not just on what's available in terms of interest of people offering classes, but is like student interest, so we can fill up those classes. Because that was something that came up with my daughter where she was like, well, there's not enough Pinole kids. And I was like, well, we should figure out what Pinole kids are interested in. And so if that's an interest, it might might be too soon for this year because, again, I know how timelines work, but would love to be able to offer and lead on creating a survey or something like that that can go out to both specifically parents as well as students to gauge interest, to be able to then match that so that we can fill up some of those classes. And then also, like, with the youth center, like, definitely here, and thank you. I appreciate the, like, we're interested in garnering more interest. So appreciate overall the thoroughness of that answer. That's me. Thank you.
Is it possible for me to also add something? Okay. I would love to also bring into the conversation, like maybe the different populations. So for example, targeting seniors, targeting youth. And then I think there's a critical population of adults who would love some recreational programming. So I would love to support as well on maybe like the artist pieces. So like, at the county and the city level. So if you think about Walnut Creek, if you think about at the county level, different like classes, like it could be clay paint, clay, it could be pottery. That's not the really sophisticated one, but the one that's like hand sculpting, watercolor painting. There's a lot of calligraphy that will attract folks across age groups. And could be targeted to, I know with the senior center is very popular. There's a lot of folks who go there. But I think offering some classes that would be able to be accessible to working adults or those who have non-traditional hours would also help them to have a way to be integrated in the community as well. So I want to also think through that because I know for myself, I usually have to leave the city of Pinole to go to Benicia or to go to Walnut Creek or to go to Pleasant Hill in order to take classes at the county level or at the city level. And I would love to maybe pilot one or two here and support with reaching out to instructors I know at the county and the city level and other places that would love to come to our city and support this type of activity, which would be for all ages, but also thinking about how to support those who may not be already identified, like the youth or those who are at the senior center.
Thank you. Yes. And just to provide the context, we do not teach those. So city staff does not teach those. We contract for those. So those are done by independent contract instructors. So right now, the reason that what we have filled primarily are senior instructors are because the senior community has shown up in Pinole and asked to offer those courses. But if we could find, and if I do hear, reaching out to partners, if there are those instructors that are interested from the city of Benicia or Walnut Creek, we're more than happy to entertain those conversations. We just, when we look, because we do outreach as best that we can, but it is not our full, we do not take our full day to go out and find instructors. We do about 20% of a reach out. We do look at local agencies to see if instructors are interested. We'll send emails, we'll call. A lot of the time they are, the ones that are offered in such larger agencies really have their pool and their clients out there, but we do outreach to agencies and their instructors. And then we also have an internal network of recreational professionals where we say, we are really looking for artists and baking classes and services. And, so we do outreach as well. So any outreach that the commission would love to assist with, that would be wonderful. We would support that conversation. Thank you.
The question,
Sorry, Commissioner Butler, can you use your mic? We want to make sure you're recorded.
Thank you. And I'm curious, I guess my question based on those great comments, how can the commission support you all with that type of outreach and activity? Like, I think it was recently where someone posted something about, let's stop, the energy around no more gas stations and what can we do? And so I think, what she just said really echoed and resonated with me because I've just counted how many times I've left Pinole to like participate in a book club, go to a wine bar, right? And so like, how can we support you all? Is it through surveys? Is it through, because you all can't do all the work. And so what can we do to kind of initiate those type of efforts to bring some of those activities to Pinole, I guess is my specific question.
That is a really good question, and thank you. Well, first is we have book club on the fourth Friday of every month, offered at the senior center. But knowing our programs, truthfully, so we offer we do digital marketing. So we have a lot of social media information. But on our website, you can look up pinolerec.com. You can go to pinole.gov and see our events and services. But knowing our events, knowing our programs, knowing the services, and then speaking to those services is wonderful. Chair Ojeda is a part of Rotary, so making sure that Rotarians know what we're doing. You know, all of the groups that everybody has mentioned, making sure that you're also proud of them, which is going to take work. Because when you understand what we're offering and what we're doing is when you can speak to the proudness of that work. So I feel like this year, as we will actually speak in a little bit about our goals and work plan for the year, that's really what we need from this commission is speak to it like it's a part of yours. We want you guys at these events, whether they are strictly Community Services Commission events or not, they're city events. And they are your events because they are city events. You have that new pin, you have that title, you are those commissioners to speak to parks, facilities, community services, and programs. Preach it like you know it, right? Like just having the heart in it and the passion in it. We have it because we work for the city of Pinole, but really making sure that you guys understand what those are. So these questions are so invaluable because for us, we will know them and in our minds they make sense. But hearing a parent speak to it is much different. What I think we're producing versus what's being received on the other end could be very different. So having those conversations or the clarity here is really helpful. And then speaking to it in your book club or to your parents and at the schools, those would be really helpful as well.
Okay. Let's see. I think we're going to move on to chair and vice chair selection. Is that correct?
Sorry. Item C, Chair. So we are on 6C. 2026 annual.
Annual community events? We just did, right?
No, we did department overview.
Oh, yep, you're right. Okay, 2026 annual community events.
Thank you, Chair. So here in your packet, we provided a list of the 2026 community events. So this includes everything that will be offered from March 21st all the way through December. So our event that's coming up right now, the most, a current, event that's coming is our Spring Egg Hunt that will take place on Saturday, March 21st at Fernandez Park from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. We have flyers here if you're welcome to take some and distribute in your community and with your contacts. So this event will include age-specific egg hunts for children ages 0 to 3, 4 to 6, and 7 to 12. We'll have children's activities. We'll have food vendors. We'll have partners that we partner with to offer classes at our centers to be able to, just table and provide information on what they're offering currently in the community. There'll be Floppy the Bunny will be there as well for some photo opportunities. So it's a very popular event with the community. So this is something that's upcoming that we wanted to share. And I'll go through I'll go through the list. I won't go to date specific, like we'll get into our summer concert series, but I'll go into kind of our events and you guys can review and let us know if you have any questions. Our commissioners, there's some events that you guys have supported with. There's also, these are all events that you all could be present. If you're interested in volunteering or supporting in some way, you are welcome to join us for these events as well. The next event that we have is after the Egg Hunt is a Community Service Day event, which will take place at the Youth Center and, of course, different project locations throughout the city. And that's on Saturday, May 16th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. So we'll probably go into that one a little bit more just because that's something that the commission has been involved with before. And then we'll go into our summer kind of events. We have our Pinole Pride and Juneteenth event that will kick off on Sunday, June 14th from 12 to 3 at Fernandez Park. There's a car show pancake breakfast as well on Sunday, June 28th at the Senior Center. And then we go into our summer movie and concert series, and we alternate movies and concerts for 6 weeks of the summer. And these are events that take place at Fernandez Park. There'll be, a feature featured band. For each of those Thursdays, we'll also have some food vendors at those events, and then the movie on Fridays. So once that's all been finalized, we'll be sure to share that out with our communication channels.
Sorry to interrupt you, Maria. I know that I'm going to head out at the 5:30 point, which just passed, but I just wanted to thank you for all the work, and then I'll watch the recording and can follow up separately with you all as staff to give any feedback and to support on the recruitment. But I just wanted to make sure that I just didn't disappear and let folks know.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. And then after our summer series, we'll go into some of our fall events. So we'll have our floating pumpkin patch over at the swim center. We'll have the Unite Against Hate Week, which is a week that's dedicated. We usually have project sites at different projects going on at the senior center, youth center, city hall. So we'll provide more information on these events as leading up to them. We also do a Halloween movie. We have our Veterans Day event that will take place. This will be the second year that we host that. And then we'll go into our holiday events. So it'll be our holiday craft fair, our holiday tree lighting, holiday breakfast, and our Glow Pinole event. So we just kind of wanted to provide this list in advance. That way the commissioners have a copy of that, and be able to reference. And if you guys do get questions about events as you're out in the community, you could be able to share, hey, there's a movie going on Friday that you should come and join. So we'll be sure to keep you all in communication as we go through with these events, but we just wanted to provide a list in advance for you all to have to reference for the year.
Yeah, so thank you so much. One of the events that I know that I had asked about right before we came on was like Earth Day, and it's not listed here, and it's currently listed as April 22nd, so wanting to know if somebody could speak to that. And then I have a follow-up other question for community events.
So going online, just like National Night Out actually isn't listed. National Night Out is done by our police department. Earth Day is done by the other two departments mentioned, which are our communications department and then our environmental coordinator, who is actually a part of our community development department. So when other departments have events, they'll be on theirs. These are the ones that are managed by community services department specifically that we oversee and run. But if you go to pinole.gov/events, you'll see all of the citywide events.
And then just to clarify, so that if there was like an event or particular thing that we would like to add to either one of those events, that on the pinole.gov website, there would be a place to be able to access around like, hey, here's something that we're also, that could be good to add to this particular event.
Suggestions, you can definitely email to us and we can put you in contact with the person to see if that's something that they would be able to do.
All right, thank you. And then my secondary question around this was, I had two specific questions about specific events, but there's the Pinole Pride and Juneteenth event that's coming up on June 14th. And I attended this last year with my family, and like recognizing that Black liberation and queer liberation is intersectional, and thinking about the ways that these are also two like different events. And so how do we be able to like pull them apart to honor each particular identity and history and story as its own event? And so wondering about a little bit the merger of these two into like one event, and then if we are going to do that, then how do we actually create thoughtful space to not just have vendors that are present on a day of, but actually like history, right? So if it's like somebody directly speaking to like, here's the history of Juneteenth and here's why we celebrate it. And there's like specific celebrations in the morning. And then in the afternoon, it's like, here's what actually, when we're thinking about pride and what that means and where this as a history came from. And so that we're actually creating cultivated space to be able to honor specific identities and histories. Because one of the things I did notice when I was attending last year is it felt very vendor heavy. And there was no, and maybe I came in, I think like 2 hours after the event, but like, there was no actual history or context. It was like, yeah, it was just like a vendor thing. And like my kids were picking it up, and there were amazing activities, but like wanting to be able to honor the history and the story, which is hopefully why we honor the day. So that would be one thing for me for Pinole Pride and Juneteenth is like, a little bit about history. How do we make sure that we're honoring these as stories? And then the second thing for Car Show Pancake Breakfast, would love to be able to explore. I haven't been to that. although I live close to Pinole Valley, so I see a lot of the old cars, vintage cars that are passing on the way. It's also thinking about like how do we similarly increase civic engagement and awareness of history by like maybe if there's something like around like lowrider history and what has that meant in Northern California and SoCal, and how that is actually a practice that people have utilized to be able to express identity. So how do we infuse community service or community events with like richness and history and culture outside of just like vendor-esque events? So I'll pause there.
So we'll start with the car show. The car show is not that's why it says pancake breakfast and not just the car show. The car show is actually operated by a car club. And so that is it's city supported. So we support with staff, but we do not support the event. So what I mean by that is you won't see a community services table out there. It's not something that we don't get those car clubs. We don't do any part of that. So our public works team works it, our police department works it, and then we as community services do the breakfast. And so as it relates to the car show specifically, we will not have participation of that nature in that. That's not our approved scope. What I do want to say about these events, all of these events are approved by City Council. So we do not get to administratively, commission-based, we are not allowed or permitted to add or delete to this without council approval. And so what's listed in front of you is what council has dollared and budgeted and allowed for us to do. For example, Veterans Day was not on here a year ago, around this time a year ago. What month are we? Yeah, around this time a year ago. That was something that was added a couple months prior to the event itself. And so council felt that that was something that they wanted to honor. So they had to come back to community services, ask for a budget that had to go back to council to approve that budget. So it is a very lengthy process as to what it is and how it is the way it is. I say that to lead me into the next point about Pride and Juneteenth. Those two were established in 2023, and there was substantial conversation about those that is not staff's permission to remove them. It is not ours to, they spoke about, having them separate. They also spoke about other groups to be honored. And so there's a lengthy conversation that happened in 2023 as to why they are together. So feel free to take a look at that. And staff's current direction is to have them together on the date that they are and the way that they are. So in addition to that, when we do seek out vendors, having, our historical society present, they do speak to the history. So I'm not sure if that was a pamphlet of some sort, but the tabling also includes people who have that information. That is not something that during, at the gazebo area, you might have seen the dancing, the culture dancing, or the experience, but those tables do have the history of that information. So we make sure to connect with the library to either storytell about some of those pieces or historical society to really bring forward that information, because they really do a great job about Pinole specifically, and then even our integration to that with Pinole. So we've collaborated, although they're vendors, they're also community partners to be able to better speak to those. And so we'll continue to do that. But if you have a suggestion about, but in your mind, they could be a vendor, but to us, they are actually a collaborator, just having a table at the event. But if you have something different or another group, but we do reach out to various groups, especially for that one, because it is so culturally enriched for both events. And there's conversation about, even online, a specific to your question that you've asked about those and being separate and honoring one and not the other. And, what I love about this that you brought up is now you guys are institutions of that knowledge to also know, but this was council direction and then staff direction. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Because again, no, it's not your responsibility. What I hear you saying is that we need to go to the council because it's been something on my mind for the last couple of years. It actually speaks to erasure for both communities, I feel like. And so I think that, while the intention may have been positive, it's actually had the adverse reaction and effect for me. And so I think that what I hear you saying is it's not under the purview of community service staff and that we need to talk to the city council about it. And so that will be definitely something that I will be going to.
I would encourage you to first listen to those videos, which are public record, to first really understand their conversation. And also, you'll hear the director before me speak to one of the council members had asked, well, why don't we do one every Sunday of June and really split these out? We don't have staff capacity for that either. So really making sure that we can't just, and they spoke to that, right? We can't, we're thick in the summer. We have 20 events, so that conversation was there. So just having some of that history first, because although I understand the point and I can see that, and online every year we also see those comments, and they're starting to come back again. So although we understand the purpose is to be prideful for all, we understand, but that looking at that video first, I would encourage, so you can see that. And if you have questions after that, before you get to there, we always want to be able to provide that, but you are spot on with where you need to go.
I must get going now, so I'll see you next meeting.
You're departing? Is that what we're doing?
Yes.
Okay, we'll chat with you later. Thank you.
I had a question. I had a question about the concert series. I wanted to ask for some clarification on how exactly the music groups are selected, and if these are local bands, are these, are we, I know we were asking the community about what they want to hear, but yeah, I wanted to ask.
Thank you. I will take this one. We have a survey that's going on right now. It actually will close on the 28th. So we have a survey that has the list of genres for the bands and the movies. So it is community selected. At the end, we'll look at the top 3, genres that were selected for the concerts, and we'll go out and find bands. So they're usually, we have a budget that we have to work with. So once we have that, we go out and try to find, the bands. If we, it's ranged, our bands, change every year, so we don't always have the same band playing. We do go out and try to find different groups that we can highlight for those concerts.
Are those local groups, like specific to Pinole, or are those groups from outside and maybe in the?
I don't know. I know we've had some that have been from Pinole. I don't think it's always. They are local bands, at least within the Bay Area from neighboring cities. So that's kind of, it just depends each year.
Yeah, we have done a call to local. We've even spoken with our local Rotary to because they have some contacts through there. So we have done a call for local. It's about who also we're presented with at the time of, and dates. That's also, it gets difficult for some of the bands. So if people do know of vendors or bands, please send them our way, because they are who we will contact when that time comes.
Yeah, I just want to highlight, there's at Pinole Valley High School when I was there was such a rich community of students that, we have an amazing jazz program there, and a lot of those students go back and they, have developed bands on their own. I know at least, in my downtime, there was at least 3 bands I knew that were, students at our high school, because we had such a great band program. And I want to highlight that there's, potential in the community to bring those bands out that, the community might not know about, just from, we want to hear this genre. But I think it's also so powerful to see, oh, those are kids from Pinole. I have personal friends I saw this weekend that they're struggling to look for venues outside the Bay Area. They're going to Oakland, they're going to Berkeley, San Francisco. And, knowing about opportunities like these, bringing them to the high schools, because there's students that, we want to play, but we don't know where, we don't know how to do it, we don't know how to promote. And, young adults as well that, are in a band, they will have a hobby and want to show up. So, looking for, I'd totally be open to supporting and promoting ideas about how our local groups can get involved, since, these can be opportunities to grow as a community and learn about, where can young people start their potential.
Yes, definitely. And we, East Bay Coffee is also a really big promoter on local artists and things. There are requirements. And so when we have reached out to a younger audience, that does get a little difficult. It's not something that they confront or they can't. So we've reached out, but we also locally take it to schools. We've also worked, the program, the music program has substantially changed in the last couple of years. So as we connect with Pinole Valley, it's for music, if you have a better contact than we have, but the music piece of offerings is hard to get somebody involved with. So we'll continue to share that information. Thank you.
Shall we move on to,
Can I just say,
Oh.
sorry, I'm so opinionated. Can I just say something? I think that's actually a great suggestion. And like the place around like bringing in young people, particularly Pinole young people into this conversation is one that I think needs to be explored with a little bit, like figuring out like what are the challenges or limitations and what can we do to work with either Pinole Valley High School to be able to figure out how we can overcome this. Like how can we be really intentional when we're reaching out? So to minimize those barriers, because I would actually personally love to see more, as somebody that's student is probably going to go to Pinole Valley. I have a middle schooler that's going into potentially going into Pinole Valley next year, still waiting to hear back. I would love to actually see Pinole Valley students, and I think it would be absolutely amazing. Or even if we were thinking about like, that's where I think it's helpful to know like what is the exact communication that's happening so that we can support and augment efforts, because would love to go and speak and be like, hey, let's problem solve around this. Or if it's something that we just need like local volunteers to be able to, like myself, like I could be like, I don't know if this is, like I want to donate like $500 to make sure that this band is covered to be able to apply or whatever it is. I want to be able to make sure that we're opening up as much space as possible for youth voice.
I'd like to set the expectations. So staff won't provide a specific marketing for each. We won't do that. What we will do is communicate about services, programs, and events. Administratively, those are our jobs, and that's we don't develop that plan to share outwardly. Those are administrative. So that's so I want to set expectations. So when you do see, concerts in the park, or you see that survey, then that would be the role of you or the resident, the commission, to then choose to advertise that, and you can do that. As far as donations, you would have to work that out with the band. We wouldn't get involved in that. And so I just want to make sure to set administratively, these are our professions, these are our careers, right? And so we'll share, and then it's up to the commission to as volunteers to share that information out. So I just want to make sure that we're setting that expectation of how communication would work, and then the way in which we would provide that information. And then lastly, we're going to speak on Community Service Day. That is one of our a little bit different events from this list. So Maria will speak to Community Service Day. Chair Ojeda, thank you.
Thank you. So Community Service Day is a day that the commission and the community will get together at the youth center for different projects that go on in the community. Usually we've had projects at our senior center, our youth center, our tiny tots, our parks, painting the benches, kind of reviving our resources out in the community. So this is an event that the commissioners have been a part of. They have helped with registration, setting up the breakfast, and lunch, and just getting everything, and then actively participating in that 2-hour event. So I have flyers here for you all to distribute through the community. This event is from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at the youth center. The commissioners usually report an hour before and say an hour after, just to help, with the setups and cleanups and stuff and getting everything together. So we'll be sure to send an email as we get closer to this event, just to remind you all to attend the event, and kind of usually there's a group that will sign up for registration and help with that table and stuff, and we will be sure this event is registration's already available online at Pinole Rec, so people can register for it. We do get a lot of people who register the day of the event. Usually, historically, they'll sign up, and that's really our busiest time. We will work with our public works team to identify the projects for that day, and then we also have our flyer does have the note about if there's a project, something out in the community that has been noticed. They can email that suggestion to us, and just depending on capacity and everything, what the project looks like, if it can be added to our list. We do start with sometimes it's a large list, but we know that participation kind of varies, so we usually try to prioritize the projects for that day to make sure that if we have a really big project at Fernandez Park, that we have enough volunteers to get that done for the day. Any questions?
can you send us the the version of the flyer that we can add to our Facebook page, please?
Yes, I can send the JPEG.
Thank you. Shall we go ahead on to chair and vice chair selection? Shall we go there now if everything is okay?
Okay, so thank you, Chair. What we are, based on the bylaws, we have to select a chair and a vice chair on an annual basis. We weren't able to meet in January, so we're going to make that selection today. So if there are any commissioners that are interested in being the chair of the commission, we would take that. We'll have to go through and do our motions, and then we'll go through and select a co-chair as well.
It's at the will of the commission. So there could be conversation, there could be communication, but it is.
Well, I wouldn't mind doing the chair, but I've been the vice chair for about 15 years, so I don't know if that's appropriate. Plus, I'm going to term out in August, I think, so I could just do it until someone decides that they'd like to take that on.
I'm sorry, I do want to clarify. There's no terming out.
Oh,
You are not terming out. Your term will end, to which you can reapply, but you do not term out.
oh, okay,
So you are eligible to reapply.
okay. I think I was confused because I think we're going down to 5.
We're not there yet.
Okay, all right. Well, I would volunteer, as long as Maria will help me, if no one else would like to chair the commission.
So do we need to make a motion?
So right now we have a nomination, a self-nomination, and so for chair. So so at this time, we can do your motion for chair, and then we'll take vice chair secondly.
Okay.
Yes.
I make a motion for chair, last name, right?
Ojeda.
Ojeda, to serve as chair of the Community Service Commission.
Do I hear a second?
Second that motion.
Roll call.
Okay, and I'll take a roll call. Commissioner Butler,
Yes.
Commissioner Cornejo Ayers,
Yes.
Commissioner Enriquez,
Yes.
and Commissioner Ojeda.
Yes. Yes.
Motion passes. All right. Our chair is now Debbie Ojeda. Thank you. All right, and now we will move on to vice chair.
Can I nominate
Natalia Cornejo.
Natalia? I want to make sure I say it correctly. I'd like to nominate Natalia.
Do I hear a second?
I would second.
Go ahead and roll.
All those in favor?
No, we're going to do roll call.
We're going to do roll call.
That's right.
Commissioner Butler,
Yes.
Commissioner Cornejo Ayers,
Yes.
Commissioner Enriquez,
Yes.
and Commissioner Ojeda.
Yes, please.
Motion passes. Your chair is now Debbie Ojeda, and your vice chair is Natalia Cornejo Ayers. Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, so that will take place at the following meeting, not at this one. You still have to chair this one, ma'am.
Okay.
All right, so we can continue to your next item.
Okay. So, and do we have any old business?
One more item. Letter E.
Oh, I'm sorry. Goals, commission goals and work plan.
All right.
Boy, I just keep trying to get to the bottom of the page, don't
We're
I?
almost there. We're almost there. Thank you. Okay, so as we discussed in our last meeting, what this is talking about our year and what we want to look for with the Community Service Commission. So the hope is that we'll have a little bit of a dialogue surrounding conversations about our goals for the year and our work plan. So as identified in our bylaws, this is something that we will bring up every year. This is something that is a working task list So this is something we want to make sure that what the commission sees in front of them is what they want to see for the year. So we have a new set of commissioners. Unfortunately, we are missing 3 commissioners, which is a big piece of our team. But knowing what is the commission, what is the interest of the commission as we look to this coming year. And I say this coming year, although it's February, almost March, we still have quite a ways to go. And so this is a dialogue, this is communication, and then this is really looking at some top goals for our work plan as we enter into this time for your seats as commissioners. So I open it up for dialogue, for communication and conversation.
Yeah, I would like to say something first. I know we've been talking about this, throughout, but, as somebody that went to Pinole Valley High School, I feel that there is so much untapped potential. I definitely, as someone who felt like there was a lot of latent opportunities, but at the same time, students didn't feel like there was enough maybe engagement coming outside. I feel like we definitely, us at Pinole, we're fatigued a lot. We don't feel like it's hard to look for opportunities when they're not sometimes in front of us. But at the same time, I remember being there, and a lot of us struggled to know what to do, to go to college, to find what we're passionate about in our communities. And as a young person here, I want to open up that opportunity and then look for ways to connect with them more and spread our outreach, because those students, they really do want to find things they're passionate about. They want to be involved in their community, and making that opportunity be put in front of them to make those connections more meaningful is something I believe we have to do, because there's so many students that just want to, they want opportunities to do something. It's just a matter of letting them know that they're there, that they would be more than willing to volunteer for something they're interested in, and trying to show how those opportunities can lead to, future opportunities. I wouldn't be here if there wasn't, an interest to work with community services and Rotary. But a lot of students don't know how to do that if they're not already tapped into a friend or, I just feel like we should extend that, because there's a lot of things that we can get done just by letting them know that there's a need for that help and that volunteering. So
I find that they do say yes, the Interact Club, whenever I've asked them to work as the servers for our local theater program when we have our once-a-year gala. They just jump on it. So they are very much wanting to help wherever they can. And they suit up, show up, they look great, they know what they're doing.
yeah, and I went today before coming here to my old cross country team and met my coach and some of the young people there. And what they are really stressed out is I want some opportunities before I go to college. How do I get engaged with the community? I don't know if they're there. We know of Interact, but these teams, of students that are, they're on a team, they're in a club, they are maybe don't have the time to join Interact and go through that. But having those communities, there's a Latinos Unidos club at Pinole that, I was grateful to start. And so many of those students are we want to do more for the community here. And then the cross country team, they're we want to engage with, young people. We want to have a run club for young kids. I'm sure the football teams and the soccer teams are willing to put out events for those kids, in their own time to have a greater connection that goes beyond. Personally, when I was in those clubs and on the team, it's more than just, you want to do more than just be on the team. You want to find out ways to meaningfully connect with Pinole besides doing something individually. They want to create connections and do something that can show their passion for the community.
I do want to make sure that we speak to the Interact participates in many of our events. So we've made those connections. We've also, any internships or volunteer opportunities the city has, we do take them to the school. It actually took about 3 different times for us to really pull kids to be interested. And so we've done substantial outreach to the school It's also having an internal person at the school, which would be so helpful. So if you ever can share somebody who's on the inside, that we can, because we do our best and communicate with Principal Irving or their administration, but we are very grateful to have Interact assist us at things like egg hunt or a tree lighting. They do show up, as Chair Ojeda said, and we are very grateful and helpful. So I just want to make sure that we do acknowledge their help in the community.
When I was in Interact, it was so fun to be there with everybody, and I love that every once in a while, like, we tell our other, students, like, hey, there's this event going on in Interact. Like, oh, do I have to be an Interact to be a part of it? It's like, no, of course not. And I feel like that's such like a common misconception that you have to be an Interact, and it's like, well, I want to do this, but I don't know how to, I don't want to. It's afraid to take that chance. And I would definitely be in support of creating a task force or trying to, find students within each of these groups that we have a connection with. Like, if it's something specific, like there are, pride clubs at Pinole Valley. We have students that are just interested in music. I know that the jazz program has changed a lot, but I knew I was so surprised to see how many people were just like doing music in their spare time. And just somebody to gouge the energy there that could just say to a member of the club, hey, like, there's this thing in Pinole going on, like somebody that can keep track of our events. How can we engage in this concert series? Or, if we are really passionate about dressing up, that just any of those things that students are really passionate about. But I know that as somebody from this generation, like we often discount ourselves before we start. Just because we're afraid to ask questions and be part of something if we don't know that we're immediately involved in it or accept it.
Thank you, Natalia. That's some great information. And now we have you.
Vice Commissioner for the future meeting. No, I was just going to say, like, I would also love to be able to support in whatever way we can find. I think that there's, having done a lot of both community organizing in my past, and I work a lot with high school students and middle school students to be able to figure out how do we meet them where they're at, so that the question itself and the container we're creating is already one that's accepting, versus like, how do you come into an adult space and then match your energy or your thoughts or your experience to an adult space, right? So it's a different type of, I think, like, question, or it's a different type of framing of how to bring in youth engagement. And I'd love to be supportive in being able to think that through, like, with you. And I would love to have that as like one of our like goals for like how we're thinking about youth direct participation and engagement in a more meaningful and interactive way, outside of how it's traditionally done in government. So I'm hearing that as well. I also wanted to like acknowledge some of the things that haven't necessarily been goals, but have been points of potentially deeper interest or engagement, where we were thinking about like the piece around like, how are we thinking about events, and what does it mean to be able to both obviously do some research into what has happened in the past, but then also meeting particular city councilor members where they're at and where the city is at in terms of certain processes for events, as we're thinking about our summer series. And I would want to figure out, what does that look like, a potential goal within the boundaries of things that we can be able to do as a commission, to be able to move that forward. So those are two, what I'm hearing as distinct, need a lot more like finagling to get to like the nitty gritty of it, but like details that we could figure out as goals.
Yeah, I would add, I think one of the curiosities that I maintain is how do I make my city better, so that I'm not traveling up and down 80, spending my resources and spending the resources of my family. And I think it's interesting because I've seen this video come across my feed. I guess he's a real estate agent, and he speaks to the positive things about Pinole. And I'm like, how did this start coming across my timeline? And I'm really inspired. I'm like, oh, this is the city I live in. And so he does a great job at promoting Pinole. And so just thank you for the observation around the book club, because those are the things that I'm literally going to Oakland for, and could do it here, and I think the thing that I want to make sure that I'm a value add is how to make sure that all of our diverse tapestry is integrated and kind of acknowledged, and that there's space for everyone. And so I think, as I think about that, I'm just keying in on how to continue to. I grew up in a big city, and so there are certainly trade-offs, but I want to be and do some things here, and be able to just walk outside, walk down to Old Pinole, hang out, and then walk back home, without getting in the car and having to go places. And I think that's the thing that I'm struggling with. But I'm happy to have this venue and figure out how do we advocate for those things as a commission, and how do we create a work plan or goals around those things of really leaning into and bringing things here that don't require necessarily huge financial investment, but more about an investment of publicity and making sure people know about it, and marketing and communication, and just kind of building that momentum so that then everyone is aware of it. We can use the platforms and channels that we have to celebrate those things, and then we can. I think then the result is then people are asking to come. Bands are asking, we have our native bands and our indigenous bands, but then we're also bringing in people who see the benefits and values and make Pinole a stronger community. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. No other comments okay. So we have made note, there's also recorded so we can reference it. And so a lot of that, and I just want to say, Natalia, when you mentioned creating a task force, you are the task force. So we won't create a task force, but this commission serves as those liaisons. So really empowering yourselves in your roles to do just that. And so this was a great meeting to really start the conversation for the year around our events, around our services. And so getting that information to the schools, to your groups, to your people, to your connections, to your nonprofits. Please continue to do so. And if there are questions or need of more information, please reach out and we will answer them to our abilities. And I do want to say too, when we talk about, how do you make Pinole better? And part of this is looking at what I didn't hear were things surrounded about what we can control, right? So things such as talking about our parks and our systems and our facilities. And those are things that this commission oversees. So you don't oversee community events. I want to be very clear. Community events is done administratively, just like programming for summer camps. That is done administratively, and we reach out to the community. What the commission does is tell us things also about our facilities, our spaces, our open spaces, our programs, our suggestions behalf of groups. And so making sure that we're connecting with like our school groups, or that we're connecting with nonprofits locally and just bridging those gaps. We really want this commission to have more of a hand in that. We haven't had that before, so we're gonna really, yeah, okay, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I wanted, just before, I know we're closing, one thing I wanted to flag about, because you did mention, like, we were supposed to be looking at these things. One thing I did hear today that I do want to follow up with, hopefully at our next meeting, is talk about, I was talking to some of the coaches at Pinole and speaking about how they're having trouble and some frustrations that I want to look more into, just, as a volunteer, about using those tracks for community events.
Yeah, sorry, I'm going to cut. We are not going to get involved in those politics of that, so I want to be very careful. The school is its own entity, and their questions are staff-based, not commission. We can chat offline about that. I want to make sure for the legalities of conversations, that is a conversation we can't run through this commission, but we can chat offline. And so please, if you have questions about nonprofits or connections about programs and things, please make sure to take a look at facilities and parks and open spaces. Those are also a really big focus as we enter into this year. And make sure that we will also bring things back with this lens of collaboration and forward-thinking communication as it relates to our youth and our seniors and adults, all of the like, so our community. So thank you. Go ahead, Chair.
Are we going to adjourn?
You're gonna, so tonight we have no old business, and then yes, go ahead and do your.
Okay, so we're going to adjourn to our next meeting, which is February, no, it is not. It is March
25th.
Is it 25th?
It's on the next page, so that's just our footer that you read, but recommendation adjourned to the next meeting, scheduled for March 25th, 2026, it's on page.
Okay. All right, so
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.